How does making a sandwich relate to a coding concept called functions? Well, let's start with the simple thing of basically what is the ingredients of a simple sandwich. So functions also start with ingredients, or we call them input. And in these ingredients for this simple sandwich, we have the bread, we have bacon, and we also have bread as well. So the next part of a function is essentially instructions. And in this example, it is the instructions on how to create a simple sandwich. So in functions term, we call it the logic. So essentially the instructions or the logic of creating a sandwich is, first of all, put a piece of bread on a plate. So I'm going to put a piece of bread on a plate. Second is to put a piece of bacon on top of the bread. And then the last instructions is to put a piece of bread on top of the bacon. So essentially, this is how we get a sandwich. And this is also the last part of a function, which is the result or output, which is the sandwich. So essentially, functions has three parts to it. The first part is the ingredients or input. Second part is the instructions or logic. And last one is the result or the output that we expect from a function. So in real life, the ingredients, instructions, and the result kind of sound like a recipe. I mean, that's why I'm using a food example over here. So also one cool thing about a function is its reusability. So what do I mean by that? So for example, this is kind of how code looks like. Basically, you have a make sandwich function over here with our inputs, which is the bread, bacon, and bread as well. Then, if you remember, with these ingredients, we will create our bacon sandwich. And now we can use the same function or recipe again, but this time we might use a different ingredient. Instead of bacon, we can use an egg. And with this function, it will still make us a sandwich, but instead it will make us an egg sandwich. And now let's, instead of having bread, we instead use croissant, right? So we make a sandwich with a croissant, egg, and another croissant. And this will make us an egg croissant. So therefore, you could see that with the same function or recipe and the same set of instructions, even with different ingredients, we can reuse the same functions to make different kinds of sandwich or croissant. So a real world example of functions basically in this example is how do we get the current weather. So essentially the input is the location where you are right now. So it might be in Singapore or Southeast Asia, it's pretty hot. Then the instructions will simply say, okay, I got the location from your current area and now I will send a request to the cloud, which is essentially just a way for us to get data about the weather. Then we will receive back the weather of the location and the output will be shown in our weather app. So this is actually a real life example of how functions are being used in our everyday life. So to summarize, functions are a way for us to do a set of instructions which can be reused with different inputs. So in the weather app, if you were to be in a colder country, maybe in the northern side of things, maybe China or maybe even Russia, you might have a different set of weather. So another example that we went through was the make sandwich, where if we have the input bread, bacon and bread, we create a bacon sandwich. And with the same function, with the input bread, egg, bread, we will make an egg sandwich. So hopefully this will help you understand better about functions.